Whilst many people picture penguins being hunted by polar bears, this sight is near impossible. Whilst the polar bears live within the Arctic Circle, the 18 species of penguins are restricted to the southern hemisphere, with only one species, the Galapagos penguin, living just above the equator. The name penguin was first coined in the late 16th century, but was first used to refer to the great auk, a now extinct species of bird found in the northern hemisphere, which vanished during the mid-1800s. The penguins are famously flightless, instead being adapted to diving and swimming in the chilly oceans, spending only around half their lives on land. The penguins have a thick layer of fat beneath the skin, and their feathers are small and continuous to create a waterproof covering for their bodies. Like many other animals that spend a lot of time in the water, the penguins exhibit countershading, with dark backs and white bellies. Most species feed on krill, fish, squid, and other forms of sea life, which are often slippery. To keep a grip on their dinner, the penguins have spiny tongues and powerful jaws. Today, the larger penguin species, such as the famous emperor penguin, are found in colder regions. The emperor penguin is the largest living penguin species, standing over a metre tall. However, some prehistoric penguins were enormous, such as members of the subfamily Paleodipterae, a group also known as the giant penguins, which frequently weighed at least as much as an adult human. The king penguin is the second largest penguin on Earth, and at one point was believed to be the largest. That was until 1884, when emperor penguins were recognised as a separate species. Breeding populations occur on sub-Antarctic islands around the coasts of southern South America, Africa, and Australia. The penguins are rarely seen away from these known colony sites, but sometimes have been spotted in Antarctica itself. They do not build nests. Instead, the king penguins take turns cradling their eggs on the top of their feet, keeping young warm next to a special flap of naked skin known as the brood pouch. When these chicks grow, they are big, brown, fluffy creatures, and were sometimes considered to be a separate species altogether, being dubbed the woolly penguins. Like all penguins, the king penguins feed on fish. However, they need to eat over 400 fish in a single day, which is approximately 2 to 3 kilograms worth of fish, diving to depths of up to 1,180 feet to catch their meal. With excellent night vision, this descent into the twilight zone is no big deal for the king penguin. The emperor penguin is the largest living penguin species and spend their entire lives on and around the Antarctic ice. The global population is estimated to be around 265,000 to 278,500 breeding pairs, which is made of 66 known emperor penguin colonies, around half of which have been discovered from space. The penguins will breed and raise their chicks on fast ice, which is the floating platform of frozen ocean that is connected to the land or ice shelves. In winter, the male will be the sole carer for the egg. During these colder months, the male carefully balances the egg on his feet, as the surrounding temperatures plummet to -50 degrees Celsius, and the wind gusts at speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. To survive such harsh winters, the penguins have thick fat reserves, proportionally smaller beaks and flippers, and feathers spreading down to their ankles. Special fats prevent their feet from freezing while standing on the frigid ice. However, the only way to survive the dark winters is teamwork. Groups of 5,000 or more tightly packed adults and chicks shuffle around, taking turns with who gets to be in the warm centre. During these harsh winters, the males will not feed, so they may go hungry for up to 4 months between the time they arrive at the breeding colony and when the mothers return. This is when the father must trek up to 100 kilometres over the ice to find food before returning to his mate and chick. Named after Adèle Pepin, the wife of Antarctic explorer Jules Dumont d'Urville, the Adélie penguin was first discovered in 1840. It is one of only 2 species that live and breed within the Antarctic itself. The penguins form closely packed rookeries, containing thousands of pairs, and a total of 2.5 million pairs can be found across Antarctica. Males will arrive at the breeding ground first, building impressive nests out of rocks, and not shying away from stealing the best rocks from their unsuspecting neighbours. They are on a strict time frame to produce a masterpiece, as females will arrive just a few days after them. The pair will work together to brood and rear their chicks, but when the chicks reach 3 weeks old, they will join a creche of other chicks. Just 6 weeks later, these feisty chicks will leave the colony and go to sea, not returning to the rookery until they are 3 to 5 years old and ready to breed themselves. Named after the black band underneath their chin, the chinstrap penguin is the most abundant in Antarctica, with nearly 8 million pairs concentrated on the Antarctic peninsula. Some colonies even number over 100,000 pairs. Chinstrap penguins form strong pair bonds, returning to the same nest and partner every year, often climbing to the top of slopes where the best ice-free nesting sites are, sometimes ending up in seemingly impossible spots. Eggs and chicks are at risk from many predators, such as skuas, petrels, and gulls. The chinstraps live mainly on a diet of crustaceans, mostly krill, but will also consume squid and small fish. The name Gentoo is a mystery, as no one knows exactly where the name originated. However, we do know that their Latin name means brush-tailed and refers to their rather obvious tail that sticks out behind them and sweeps side to side as they walk. The total population numbers between 300,000 and 400,000 breeding pairs, but they do not form the large colonies of other penguins. Whilst the pairs are not strongly attached to their nest, they do form strong pair bonds. Their streamlined bodies and strong paddle-shaped flippers can propel the penguins at speeds of up to 22 miles per hour, and this speeds allow them to travel vast distances. Young gentoos are extremely adventurous and have even been spotted on the coast of New Zealand and Africa. Weighing only around a kilogram, the little penguin, also known as the blue or fairy penguin, is the smallest of the penguin species. They are native to the southern coastlines of Australia and New Zealand, and the population currently stands at around 250,000 breeding pairs. However, their small size means they are very easy targets for introduced predators such as red foxes, so specially trained guard dogs protect some of the penguin colonies from these threats. The penguins breed in burrows in dunes or rocks, and pairs will often mate for life, especially if they achieve success with breeding. The pair will return to the same burrow every year during the breeding season, and it has been found that middle-aged penguins are the better breeders, possibly being more effective foragers. Despite appearing to be quite fragile little birds, the little penguins are very sturdy animals. They can spend weeks away at sea, dozing and eating among the waves. Their favourite foods include squid, krill and crustaceans, and each penguin may eat up to 20% of their body weight in a single day. As the only penguin species that crosses the equator into the northern hemisphere, the Galapagos penguins are likely the rarest of all penguins. There are fewer than 2,000 individuals in the whole population, with around 600 breeding pairs. Around 95% of this tiny population lives on the Fernandina and Isabella Islands in the western part of the Galapagos archipelago, so sadly significant El Niño events have caused deaths of up to 77% of the total population as penguins struggle to find food and do not breed. Being so close to the equator, the penguins often overheat while standing on the hot rocks in direct sunlight, so they will tuck themselves away in lava tubes and rocky crevices. Potentially the most seen penguin in captivity worldwide, the Humboldt penguin breeds in colonies along the coasts of Peru and Chile, creating nests in underground burrows. The current population stands at around 12,000 breeding pairs, categorising the penguins as vulnerable. The first major hit to the species numbers was the mining of guano deposits to be used as fertiliser, which destroyed the preferred nesting sites of the Humboldts. Now the main threat to the penguins is entanglement in fishing nets, which often occurs due to their preferred diet of anchovies, herring, hake and squid. The Magellanic penguin, named after the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan, was first seen by the Western world in 1520. Like other penguin species, the Magellanic penguins dig burrows up to 1 metre deep in which they build their nest. Males are often larger than females, sometimes weighing up to 20% more, and have deeper and thicker bills. The species can be identified by the 2 black bands that run across their white bellies, with one band encircling their neck, whilst the other forms an arc that rises to the top of their chests and then back down to their feet. Also known as the black-footed or jackass penguin, due to the sound they make, it is not just a jest at their personality. The African penguin is a critically endangered species that lives in colonies along the southwest coast of Africa, from Namibia to Port Elizabeth, as well as many of the surrounding islands. It is the only penguin regularly found in the region, so it is a significant sight when visiting this part of the world, as many people would be shocked to say African and penguin in the same sentence. Known as hoi hoi in New Zealand, which means noisemaker, the yellow-eyed penguin is potentially one of the world's rarest penguin species. They are found on the eastern part of New Zealand's South Island, Stewart Island, the Auckland Islands and Campbell Island. However, despite being one of the rarest penguin species, their range has spread over the years. In 1500, the yellow-eyed penguin was found only on the Auckland and Campbell Islands, whilst the now extinct Wataya penguin inhabited the mainland and the Richdale's penguin inhabited the Chatham Islands. The most abundant of all the penguins, with around 12 million breeding pairs, macaroni penguins form gigantic colonies of hundreds of thousands of birds on the rocky cliffs of the southern hemisphere. Whilst you probably thought the penguins were somehow named after a shape of pasta, they were named after the bizarre macaroni coiffure hairstyle, which was popular with 18th century dandies. The tufty eyebrows of the macaroni penguin are somewhat reminiscent of this lost trend. Somewhat unusually, the macaroni penguin produces 2 eggs, with the first egg being significantly smaller than the second. This first egg rarely hatches, as only 1 chick is ever raised by a pair. This first egg will only be reared if the larger egg is lost for whatever reason. Due to only raising 1 chick, which fledges after 2 months, the macaroni penguins do not experience the same boom and bust cycle that other penguins do. Royal penguins feed primarily on krill, but other crustaceans, small fish and cephalopods are also consumed. Their scientific name memorialises the German zoologist Hermann Schlegel, and their diagnostic white face differentiates them from the macaroni penguin. The total population numbers around 850,000 breeding pairs, but Over 500,000 of these live in a single colony located near the southern tip of Macquarie Island. Many pairs are monogamous, with males creating hollows in sand or vegetated slopes, constructing their nests of tussocks and rocks. In total, the male will spend around a month building their creation. Rockhoppers are named for their distinctive hopping movements over rocky hills and cliffs. The northern rockhopper weighs up to 3 kilograms, but with only 190,000 to 230,000 breeding pairs, the penguins are classified as endangered. Sadly, around 2 million pairs were lost from Gough Island between 1955 and 2006. They are best distinguished from the similar southern rockhopper by their much longer yellow plumes and slightly smaller size. The southern rockhopper is much more numerous than the northern species, with around 1.2 million breeding pairs. Whilst the northern species is found only on 7 islands across the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans, the southern rockhopper is found on most shorelines north of Antarctica, from Chile to New Zealand. Whilst populations are currently somewhat substantial, there are declines. The most affected colonies seem to be on the Falkland Islands. Scientists don't yet fully understand what is causing these declines, although climate change is thought to be a significant factor. Endemic to the rainforests of New Zealand, the Fiordland penguins are also known as the tawakis. Due to their warmer environment, the tawakis have fewer and less dense feathers than the penguins on ice. They don't like to travel more than 2 miles from home, but climate change is forcing them to travel further from shore. They spend up to 75% of their lives in the ocean during the winter months, resulting in barnacles often attaching themselves to the penguin's tail. The Snares penguin is another species endemic to New Zealand. They have a significant cultural and spiritual value to the Maori, and this was recognised in a Settlement Act in 1998. Nesting in dense colonies under the tree cover of the Olearia forests or on coastal rocks, the penguins dig a shallow hole in the ground and layer the bottom with grass, leaves, twigs, peat and pebbles. Sadly, the erect crested penguin has experienced substantial declines since the early 1970s, and now only 68,000 breeding pairs remain on the remote Bounty and Antipodes Islands. They lay their eggs directly on the rocks, with very rudimentary nests. The first egg is often small and light, with the second averaging 81% larger. The smaller egg is often lost, seemingly purposeful at times, within days of the second larger egg being laid. Adults molt in their breeding colonies before the adults disperse widely, but some travel to the east coast to molt in the autumn.